A systematic approach to change is important in your company, including tracking the assets. Learn about asset tagging and change management coming up next.
You're watching IT Pro TV.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to the CySA Plus series. That's right. We are going to be diving into concepts surrounding how companies track what is important to the organization. And specifically, we're talking about asset management. Hello, Dan. Where do we start? Because this is there's a lot behind this, right?
Yeah, and I think that asset management can be overlooked, honestly, or at least its importance can be overlooked. We tend to just kind of take that thing for granted, or if it's being done, it's not being done very well or managed very well. But it can be extremely important to your cybersecurity standpoint, because if I don't know what assets I have, how do I know that I'm protecting them effectively? So it's a really important piece of the puzzle that we know all the critical pieces of our organization that could be attacked, threatened, have vulnerabilities. And if we're not managing that correctly, if we don't know and are aware of all the little bits and pieces that go along with them, we're going to have a hard time effectively securing those systems.
Dan, I know that some of the assets that we have within our companies, we kind of could call them boat anchors, right? They're racked and stacked. They're behind a lock and key, typically some kind of security section or segmentation, if you will. One of the things I think of, Dan, is mobile assets. Now, we're talking broadly about all of them, but that's one of the first things I think about, because these things can grow legs and walk away. So what are some of the characteristics or the attributes that we track?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like, what are the things that we're actually writing down? When I say, I have an asset, what about that asset do I need to know? Well, there's a lot of things, and actually it can vary, and it will vary from organization to organization. It's really what you think is going to be important. Now, I'm of the mind that the more detail, the better. I love minutia, right? I really get into the fine points of things. It's just my personality. So I'm probably a person that tries to think of every small nook and cranny of information that I can grab and add that to my assets, right? Or at least my understanding of that asset. So these are going to be things like the make and the model of the device. So if I've got a Samsung Galaxy S20, brand new, I want to know when it was bought, that kind of stuff. I'm going to want to know the serial number that's associated with it, maybe even the EIN, like I said, minutia guy, right? Asset ID, if hopefully I've created an asset ID for that, because I know that's a different asset than this Galaxy S20. And that's how we're going to differentiate those. Location, the assigned user, the value of the device itself. Okay, this is a $1,200 phone, $1,400, whatever it is. They're getting crazy nowadays with the prices on phones. It's killing me, right? But really just all that stuff, just start thinking of what you might value and what could be important to you as an organization. Make sure you get all that information and put it in some sort of repository. And really, this moves us into asset tagging, right? Because do I have actually my laptop? I'm not going to lift my laptop.
I'm going to go ahead.
Look at that. Wes has his
laptop, and then we can see
he's got a little sticker.
Little sticker.
It's this
right there
big.
with the number
It's no
on
big
it.
deal. There's nothing
That's
really
right.
on
There
it.
we go. There we go. So
Just
we'll
a little
hold
number.
that up. Nothing big. Yep.
That's the asset ID for that asset for this company. And that's as simple as we've made it. I don't know what Nate kind of handles all that stuff around here. He's the operations manager. So I don't know what other pieces of information he's taking about that device, but I know for one thing, he's got that number, and that number associated with what that device is. I'm assuming just those bare things, and that Wes is the one been assigned to that asset, but he's tagged it, and now all he's got to do is make sure that he runs around looking at their laptops, and he can find that specific asset and know, oh, okay, this is Wes's laptop, because that's the information I have here. So important stuff for that. Now, it doesn't just need to be a number. It could be, and I've seen this, I've worked with these, it could be a barcode, where it had a little handheld scanner, and click, and then it will come up with that information. Just connected to either an Access database or Excel spreadsheet or something. Just click, and it's got a little front end that just accesses that information, brings it up for you. They're very simple to find and get spun up and running, and very, very helpful when you're doing asset management to have something like that. They even have RFID tags, and this goes even farther than just giving me the information about the device itself. Think about those mobile devices Wes was just talking about, because they tend to get little legs and run away, especially when some crazy person snatches it off your coffee table and takes a beeline down Fifth Avenue and then jumps into a car and hauls away. That's gone. But guess what? Some RFID or geolocation tagging devices could have been installed in that, and now we can follow that. We know where it is. Now, they're going to have a harder time keeping that device back out of our own hands, and we're going to probably be able to recover it unless they had some sort of Faraday cage they throw it into, which is possible. But if we're not doing it, we know they don't even need that. They just run away with the device and they've got it. So be aware that barcodes and RFID tagging of these things is something you can do. I actually got a website where if you're looking to do some of this, I just did a quick Google search, found this website, came up in the top results, and it seemed very straightforward. This is seton.com right there, asset-management /asset-tags.html. And here we are. You can buy economy asset labels, premium polyester asset tags, all-purpose aluminum tags. I like these tamper-evident asset tags. You can kind of see if you try to like take them off, they just dissolve into nothing, and it's going to leave behind some weird residue or something. There's the RFID asset tags, especially barcode labels. So for all that infrastructure you would need to spin up something like this, there you go. Looks like they've got just about everything you would ever want to get this up and running. Great stuff. I'll buy all those tags and go to town. Let's go back to a little bit and start talking about the asset inventory, or the assets that you're keeping, the information. Good idea to include the invoice of the device and any warranty or contract information that goes along with those assets, because not all assets are tangible. They might be a service. That is also an asset. So make sure you have all that information associated with those devices or intangible objects, if that's what they are, as well, because you're going to want everything, because whenever something occurs, you need as much information as possible at the ready when you need it.
You know, let's go back to your example there, Dan, of Nate, our facilities manager here. You know, this is the second Mac that IT Pro TV's got me here, and you know, we get the pleasure of dealing with brand new technology, and Apple Care is one thing that they get on a lot of these Macs. And how do I know if am I under warranty? Or are we going to have to pay the geniuses a lot more money than just Apple Care? And that's something that we need to include. It's one of the examples that we actually use right here at IT Pro TV.
That's exactly right. Great example. We do that because we understand the importance and the value of making sure that if Wes's laptop is running out of warranty, then maybe it's just a better idea to get him a new asset and reappropriate that to something else, or maybe sell it, or regain some of the funds. It's just up to you and your organization what you deem is most valuable and best for your organization. I did want to give you a resource, though, as well as not only being able to buy tagging actual items, but a management. So I just got to be a good, free, usable asset management system out there I can find. And lo and behold, I did find one, and I actually really like it. I spent a little bit of time with it yesterday. It's called reftab.com. Right there you go, reftab.com. And I was very easily able to create a free account. And I think I have up to 50 free assets that I can manage with this. So if you're a small shop, this might be a great solution for you. If not, they had reasonable pricing as well. But here I was able to create a location, which is our headquarters. There's our address, our phone number, contact email. But then I was able to input, of course, my assets. And I just put one in right now. But there you go. I have laptops, and I can click on that asset name, and I can get more information about it, like when it was last scanned, if I have a scanning system for it, the status that it's with the IT department, asset notes, an Apple MacBook Pro 2018 15-inch with no touch bar, again, giving me more details about it. If I had the pay-for version, I could upload an image of that device, so just take a picture with your phone or something, put that picture in there, and now I have a visual record of what it should look like. This is so I can compare the two things together. I can also look at who it's checked out by, so who this is assigned to, which is myself. I can go in here and really easily add a new asset, give it an asset name of MacBook Pro 2, asset ID of 2. It's in location headquarters, and this is MacBook Pro. Another, what do you got there, Wes? I
got the Mac Pro.
Yeah, you got a Mac Pro. I guess we got 13 inches, not 15 inch. 13 inch. And you have no touch bar. No.
That's right.
Touch. I can't spell. Touch bar. There you go. default location or a loan period if I want to do that. Status label, you can just drop down. I hit IT department. Category, it's a laptop, so there you go. If I have warranty information, when it expires, I can put all that stuff right here. Save this asset. The RAM, I think you're probably running a 16 gigger. Purchase costs are about $2,200, not 22,000. You got a i5 or
i7?
You got an i7? Mm-hmm. Good for you. And a hard drive size of
500 gigs.
500 gigabytes. So there you go. I'll leave the dates alone. Put the vendor there. It's Apple. Great. And now scroll down. Where's that? Oh, you got to go back up. It's up here. And save asset. There we go. Now I have another asset in here. I can start tracking and managing that. It doesn't get away from me. All good things. I now know I have that asset and that I need to secure it. And I have all the information surrounding it in case something happens to it.
You know, in the CySA Plus series, there is a little bit of assumed knowledge, right? You know, this isn't for sure an entry-level certification. And one of the things that you're probably already familiar with is that things like our servers, right? They provide services, and that is something that we need to be mindful of because of the CIA triad, confidentiality, availability, or integrity and availability, right? So you know that we shouldn't reboot these things, right? We should be patching our systems, but the problem is if you implement that patch, what happens if that server goes offline? So we need a systematic approach to applying change within our organization that maintains stability and uptime, and that's where change management comes in, right?
Yeah, it's a thorn in the paw of most people that are actually doing stuff because it's going to slow you down. This is basically bureaucracy. It does have a good reason for being around, but it doesn't mean it's any less frustrating from time to time because it's a lot of work and you're a lot of times waiting for this or that to come to fruition before you're able to move into the next step. But change management is a part of our lives in IT, so you just got to kind of like, well, you know, prepare for that punch in the chin. You know, it's what you got to do. So what do we mean by change management? Like Wes said, systematic approach to identifying and implementing change in a system, okay? So there can be a few reasons why we might want to implement change. That might be reactive, so we're reacting to something that has occurred that is now affecting our organization, and therefore change needs to happen. So that will be a reason a change request would go forward. We're also proactive. We see that down the road, this might be a good idea for us to start engaging in. So let's go ahead and beat it to the punch, right? We'll go ahead and start that change process now so that by the time it rolls around, we're already prepared and up to speed and ready to go with it. So it could be, like I said, reactive or proactive. Categorized as well. You might want to categorize based off of risk or impact to the organization. So you might want to say, this has a critical risk, and this is why we want to implement the adding of security controls to this system. Okay, well, that's a change. And is that a major, a minor change? Those are the kind of things that you're going to want to categorize these things based around. Let's see here. With that, you're going to want to include some information around change management, which is especially if you're diving into formalized change management. I have a system. I'm going to write things because sometimes change management is just, hey, Wes, we need you to do that. Cool, write that up and send it to me in an email. And it's a very informal process, and he just does what he needs to do. And that could be fine. That could be exactly what you need. But if you have a more formalized change management system, there could be some more moving parts to it. And I just want to get into that, like a request for change. Like all the things we've been talking about will be that request, like I'm requesting that we need to actually do some changes for X, Y, and Z reasons. And you're going to include those reasons and the implementation of the procedure that you're going to do that is going to be involved with those changes, right? So this is the end result. This is what we're looking to do. These are the reasons we want to do them and that we think that change is needed. And here's how we're going to make that happen. So all that stuff is going to be wrapped up. So you are kind of writing a report up a lot of times when it comes to this, especially with major changes. You might need the approval of something like a change advisory board or a CAB. So just be aware that, again, could slow the process down, but because it's such a wide change and very impactful to the organization, it may need that level of buy-in.
So you would say maybe like the greater the scope, the more signatures have to be on the ticket.
Yeah, or if it obfuscates some sort of business function. Now it makes that more difficult to engage in.
That reminds me of one thing where we had some business continuity that had to come over, and the IT manager said, okay, I need to talk to the other managers because what's important to me might not necessarily be what's important to them. And what's important to them, I might overlook. So that's interesting that you say that.
Yeah, so you gotta keep that in mind. Other things you need to keep in mind is like when you do implement change, you should probably take, and I know I'm not the pretty, I can't believe I'm about to say this. Go slowly at first. A lot of times it's a really good idea to create it like a test group. We're going to make the changes to just these test areas first, see how it goes, make sure nothing was overlooked as far as impact goes. And that way we don't get too far down the road and go, oh no, this broke everything.
So like in a non-production environment, maybe even a lab test
Yeah, or
environment.
just people that it's not going to affect wide scale.
The tech-savvy
The
people.
entire system. Might be someone in finance because that's what it affects.
Oh, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
so maybe I'm going to say, hey, you guys are now going to be using iPads instead of laptops.
So again, the scope is important.
Right, the scope is important.
Sure,
Who it
sure.
affects and how it affects them is important. So you want to get someone who's can handle those. If problems arise, they can work with those and then report that back to you, and you can make changes. So you also want to do this so that if something does happen, you can back out. You can kind of back up. You want to have that backup procedure prepared, and then of course an assessment after the change has been made. You always want to assess what happened, how well it worked, what you did right, what you did wrong, and that will affect how you do changes in the future, and probably change your process and procedures for that. So it's always an evolving process, but that's change management wrapped up in a ball. There are change management softwares out there that will allow you to do this, submit tickets and all the other good stuff. You might have a homebrewed one, or you go out and use one of those solutions that are off the shelf. I couldn't find one that was easily spun up. I don't have anything to change, so it's kind of a difficult lift to demonstrate for you. But you get the idea. The concepts are what's important at this point in time for the exam. So hopefully that's going to give you everything you need to be able to answer those questions.
All right, very good. Remember, we looked at a couple of major components when it comes to just general infrastructure management. We talked about asset management and change management, all important scenarios that, given a scenario on the exam, you should be able to answer now. We got a lot more coming in CySA Plus, and we hope to see you in the upcoming episodes.
Thank you for watching IT Pro TV.